Good morning, good morning, good morning, all of you beautiful nerds from around the world. Welcome to the morning stream here on the Den of Nerds Live. The very best way to start your nerdy day. Man, we got a good one today. This news is pretty crazy. A lot to talk about. Bob Iger returns as the CEO of Disney less than 2 months after he stepped down and led the way for his predecessor, Bob Chapek. Very interesting stuff. There's actually a lot to get into with regards to that. It is a Marvel Monday as well. We're going to talk a little bit of Marvel as well. Namor, another person has confirmed Namor to be in Black Panther 2, so we'll talk about that. Plus, we got to talk about Dune. We got our first look at Dune. And apparently Vanity Fair is going to be giving us a ton of looks at Dune throughout the week this week, so we will be breaking that down, of course, here on the show as well. But I just want to say good morning. Good morning to all these beautiful people, man. Holy cow, we got some beautiful people in here. Mike's here, Bill's here, Brian, Craze Panda, Grey Dawn, Adam G, James Heaton, Casey, David Fuller, Yinzer, Jim, Stormbreaker, Maverick, Coachella, Jason, Mark, Adam, Brian, Schnara, Trev, Flushbrush, Owen, Trinity's in the building. Woo! Yo, Burke the Nerd is here as well. And finally, Chet finished that outro video. Right, Chet? Oh, you motherfucker. God. But good morning to all of you guys, man. Thanks for being here. If you're watching this somewhere else on the interwebs, because we're going to start sharing this show out a lot more. If you're watching this somewhere else and you want to get in on the action as we go live, it is on our live streaming channel, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. That's when we do the morning streams here over at the Den of Nerds. Well, folks, I don't think there's any time to waste. Chet, kill the music. You know what we got to do. You know what we got to do. Okay, so no craziest news of the day stinger. Awesome. Thanks for that, Chet. Okay, look. This is pretty wild, guys. We got to talk about this. We got to get into this. Let's break down the official story here. Now, this was actually originally broke by the New York Times. Actually, Bob Iger literally emailed somebody at the New York Times yesterday. I believe it was late in the day yesterday, and talked about his return and talked about what it all meant. Now, I went to the New York Times to read their article, and they demanded my email. And so I said, fuck off, New York Times. I'll read it somewhere else because everyone's just going to surmise your article anyways. And so we are here on The Wrap. Let's see if we can get into this. Bob Iger reasserts control at Disney as company navigates coronavirus impact. Okay, so it says here, less than 2 months after stepping down as CEO, Bob Iger has reasserted control at Disney as the company navigates its impact caused by the coronavirus pandemic, according to the New York Times report published Sunday. As I said, that was an email, right? In an email, Times reporter Ben Smith, in an email to Ben Smith, Iger explained why he had stepped up even after handing CEO reins to Bob Chapek, the former head of the Parks and Resorts division. A crisis of this magnitude and its impact on Disney would necessarily result in my actively helping Bob and the company contend with it, particularly since I ran the company for 15 years. Okay? So he explained that even though he had stepped down as CEO on February 25th, with Chapek named as his successor, Iger retained the title of executive chairman with every intention of passing the baton. But in the weeks following his departure, the coronavirus pandemic forced closures of all Disney theme parks and cruises. Some estimates that there's $500 million lost just in March alone. Okay, now I want to skip ahead to some of the things that Bob actually said because it's kind of interesting stuff here, okay? So the Sunday Times reporter says Iger anticipates ending expensive old-school television practices like advertising up fronts and the producing of pilots of shows that may not air. He also anticipates Disney reopening with less office space and fewer employees, though Iger distanced himself from the latter, following up in an email to the Times saying that any decision about staff reductions will be made by my successor and not me. We're going to talk about that as well as what advertising upfronts are. And just as a small aside to the people that are Patreon supporters at the business level, this is actually something we talked about last Sunday. Last Sunday, we talked about this in our business live stream about some of the media practices that will be changed, and companies are going to be forced to cut the fat in some way. So we'll talk about what upfronts are. It's a very interesting practice that's sort of draconian when it comes to television and advertising, okay? So there's another thing that he says here. We expect the ultimate significance of the impact of these disruptions, including the extent of their adverse impact on our financial and operational results, will be dictated by the length of time that such disruptions will be, disruptions continue, which will in turn depend on the currently unknowable duration of the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact of government and regulations that might be imposed in response to the pandemic. Bob Iger, back at the helm of the company, already seems to be mapping a course through uncertain waters ahead, okay? So that's one of the things he said. He also said that there could be more Disney things coming to streaming directly instead of going to theaters. He also talked about maybe taking guests' temperatures at the theme parks once the theme parks reopen. A lot of interesting stuff was talked about in this email, but the big news is that Bob Iger thought he got out of Dodge clean. Not so clean. Not so clean. Okay? So let's get back into the chatting setting. Look, my lawyers have asked me to say to you guys that this is an entertainment channel, and even though my analyst of these business situations, in my opinion, is spot on, and you could take it to the bank, from a legal perspective, I have to tell you, I'm just some dude on the internet. I'm just some dude on the internet. We're just talking about the things that are going on there. This is for entertainment purposes. Please don't take anything I'm saying in a serious financial sense, okay? Now, having said all that, I just spilled hot coffee on my crotch. That was awesome. Welcome to the Nerd Vengers, Ninjetta. Okay, so I want to just kind of speculate, man. I got a lot of thoughts about this. Again, from a legal perspective, you should be aware that I'm just some dude on the internet. I'm not a business analyst. I have no insider information about this situation. But a couple of things we got to talk about. In fact, Chet, can you put me on the big screen? Put me on the big screen. This is a big deal. Bob Iger returns to CEO on Easter. I mean, it is kind of funny, right? It is kind of funny. It is kind of ironic. The Savior has returned on Easter's. By the way, I hope you had a good Easter. I think that if I'm being honest here, and this is speculation, but this is just kind of my read on the situation. I believe Bob Iger truly believed that he was getting out of Dodge with the move that he made. I am even more convinced now that the move was made because of the virus. Iger notoriously rubs up against a lot of political people. There were all those reports of those senators and people that were higher up in government that were dumping stocks, moving stuff around, looking at what was happening, right? People that had information about the virus before other people had it. And so I'm pretty sure Bob was just trying to get out, okay? And that was no longer possible. And I believe the only reason he did it, really and truly, is because he assessed that not coming back and allowing things to sort of flounder or go the way of Chapek's decisions or whatever would ultimately be bad for his brand. You see, the same thinking that brought him to the conclusion that he should get out of there first is the same thinking that made him want to come back, or made him ultimately decide that, yes, it is better to come back. Because Bob Iger has big aspirations after Disney. A lot of people think that he's going to actually run for president, okay? Him leaving, I believe, was seen as sort of a way to keep the integrity of his legacy intact and allow the very harsh, draconian things that were going to be necessary because of contraction to a lot of the verticals that Disney has. He was going to allow Bob Chapek to sort of take all the hate and the blame for that. Chapek is notoriously stingy. He is notoriously cheap, and he is just notoriously pretty okay with firing people. And I believe that the decision was sort of made behind the scenes that Bob Iger rather, was like, okay, we'll let Chapek handle that. He can be the heel for all of these bad decisions that we have to make during this contraction. However, I do believe that this was not what he anticipated. This is way worse than he anticipated it being for the company. And so, because it would probably have just looked like he was just getting out of Dodge and allowing it all to burn, he comes back. Okay? I think another thing that this really makes us aware of, or what we should be aware of here, is that this is way worse for Disney than maybe we thought. I know a lot of people, when we threw around the ideas and there were the reports out there that Disney could potentially be bought by Apple, that there was just that it was like really, really bad for Disney. I know there were many of you out there that just said, I don't believe that. I can't believe that. That would not happen, right? I think maybe people are starting to come around to it, but this right here should be a huge wake up. This wasn't done in, none of this is normal, but this was not done through normal channels. This was not done in any sort of normal way. This was done this was done behind the scenes during Easter Sunday, and then there was an email sent to the New York Times from Bob Iger. They're trying to get ahead of this. They need a calming presence. They need someone to come back when the shit is hitting the fan to quite literally have Bob Iger possibly save Disney. By the way, that looks really good on a resume, too. It's one thing to establish Disney as what it is in the modern era. Had a $13 billion grossing year in the box office last year. Huge expansions in the parks. A lot of interesting acquisitions during the 15 years that Bob Iger has been CEO. All of that looks great on a resume. Saving that company from being bought out or collapsing during a crisis, that also looks very good on the resume. Okay? This also just points to a branding thing with Disney itself. Also, interesting, guys. We talked about this last Sunday on a business stream as well. We talked about how during something like this, sales and expansion, depending on what industry you're in, is not possible. In fact, I think in some ways, really pushing sales can be seen as tone deaf, and it actually can hurt you way worse than you think because of branding. You see, I think where Disney's mind is at, I think where Bob Iger's mind is at, and I think where a lot of very smart business-minded people's minds are at currently, is that we will get out of this. The damage done by the virus should be subsidized or helped by different entities, and the fact is everybody's hurting at the same time, so it's not like our competition is going to make a big leg up on us. However, the potential damage done to a brand because of how they acted or conducted themselves during this kind of a time period is lasting. It's lasting. So a lot of people, when we get on the other side of this thing, will look back and say, how did this company respond during Corona? What was Disney doing during Corona? And I think that the brand associations made for these companies and what they are doing currently during this crisis will either help them in the long run or hurt them in the long run. Chapek represents, like I said before, sort of that draconian, let's make cuts, numbers guy, this is what we've got to do. When the email came out internally at Disney talking about how people were making pay cuts, that didn't come from Bob Iger. That came from Bob Chapek. That email and that memorandum was from Bob Chapek, talking about all the reductions. And that is going to hit people at the lower level at Disney as well. But what's interesting is they're still going to kind of keep Chapek to sort of be that guy to be the heel of all the negativity, because Bob even says in his emails, any decisions about people losing their jobs, this isn't what he said in the email, but this is essentially what he said. Any negativity with regards to people losing their jobs in the middle of a pandemic and, moving forward as the economy is maybe in a depression or some kind of recession. Yeah, that's all on Chapek. That's all on my man Chapek. Anything that's good news, you can email me back, Ben. Email me back. I'm willing to talk to you about the good news. Do you know what I mean? But it really it makes me realize that it's really important for the face of Disney, and this is why they brought Iger back. This is why I'm guaranteeing you, shareholders were calling him on Easter. Murdoch and George Lucas probably giving my man Iger some. Those are two of the biggest shareholders at Disney. Giving Iger calls on Easter Sunday. If that doesn't tell you what a big deal this is, like, I don't know what to do for you. It's a super, super big deal. I think also, as a sort of small aside, I don't know how many of you follow MMA or follow the fights, but recently, Dana White, the president of the UFC, was going to have a fight this coming weekend, despite all the coronavirus restrictions and all of those things. He was making moves and got a call from all he said in his interview was, I got a call from the most high up person you can get a call from at Disney, which I'm sorry, ain't Chapek. That's Bob Iger. And they got a call, and Disney told the MMA or the UFC to cancel that event and that there will be no UFC events during these huge global restrictions. Why? Because of branding, because of PR, because of what that looks like to people as you move forward. If safety isn't your primary concern, if you're not trying to help humanitarian, on the other end of this thing, people are going to be like, who were the companies that were humanitarian? If the economy itself is contracted and people can't spend as much, branding is going to be even more paramount in the decision-making that consumers make with their cash. It'll be a huge impact on the decision-making that consumers make with what little or maybe substantial cash they have to make purchases. So it shows just a couple of different things. It shows that I believe this was worse than maybe Iger anticipated, worse than Disney anticipated. I think that it shows that Disney's concern during this time period is not only shoring up how to get cash flow back once things return to whatever version of normal we get back to, masks in the park, temperature at the door, because we gotta get back to business in some way. But you of course want to be safe. It shows that is their primary concern. And bringing Iger back in, they want to bring this humanitarian image to how Disney is handling what is going on with the pandemic. So, pretty crazy stuff, man. Pretty wild stuff. Let's get back into the chatting, and I want to see what people are saying about this. Wild. Absolutely wild. So, look, we'll do Q&A, like we'll get into Q&A, but I do want to spend a little bit of time here. Chat, put me back in the chat setting. I do want to spend a little bit of time here just talking with you guys about what you think about this. Who's got a take? Who's got a spicy take? Straight up Dana White was straight up Mortal Kombat with the island. Yeah, and you know what? Like, I got a lot of I am of different minds of this thing as somebody that studies business and that loves entrepreneurism and just I love watching the markets and I just love it. I'm very interested in the clashing of those two ideas because I think for the brand of the UFC, Dana White was spot on. Everything he was doing makes complete and total sense. And as a fight fan myself, I want to see Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson fighting it out. But when it comes to Disney and ESPN, they want people to remember, well, what were they doing during the virus? Oh, safety was paramount. They were trying to figure out how to be great with their employees, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Are they less concerned with the branding issues of bringing Iger back? Isn't that showing them bleed? I agree. I mean, I think that it's obviously showing. I think that's a really interesting point. I think that's a really interesting point, Mav, because yeah, it does show them bleed. But I think that it was pretty obvious to people that they were bleeding. Yeah, I think that was pretty obvious they were bleeding. I think that you could say that. I mean, it's like, who plans for this kind of stuff, right? So there's no precedence for this situation for businesses. And so I think it actually does make sense to bring him back. I agree that it shows that they're bleeding, but I would just say that I think everybody knew they were bleeding, and I think that Iger's presence helps. Iger coming back helps. Iger stepping back at CEO at the same time Disney is laying off another 40,000 employees. Feels like he's also insulting the other Bob from that black mark. Disney is laying off another 40,000 employees. Yeah, I think I see what you're saying, Santa. I think I see what you're saying. It's insulating. Okay, insulating. Yeah, but I mean that's very possible. That's very possible. Look, Chapek's still going to be CEO after this, at least for a time, right? I'm fascinated by this. I really am. I'm fascinated by this because I think it's a good move. I think Bob, like I said, I think Bob made it because it would have looked worse for him had he not done this, right? Especially if it came out that like shareholders were knocking down his door. They're like, well, social distancing. Well, fuck that. I got to get Bob Iger back as CEO. And so they're breaking down his door on Easter. You know what I mean? And smashing his eggs and all that. So if that would have come out, it would have been very bad for Bob. I think he was in a really tough situation. Obviously, he doesn't want to do this job anymore. He doesn't want to do the job of CEO, and he didn't want to do the job of CEO if it was sunshine and rainbows. But now it's ventilators and freaking N95 masks. You know what I mean? So, of course, he doesn't want to be doing this right now. But I think that when he looked at his legacy and he looked at the brand of Bob Iger, it would have looked really bad had he not done this. You know what I mean? Do you think he's back to save the brand and facilitate the sale of Disney to Apple behind the scenes? So I thought about that as well, James, and here's what I'll say to that. I think regardless of whether or not they get bought or not, Bob Iger coming back is to help the value of the company. So even if they get bought, like their shareholders, I don't know if if the company was to be bought, that would have had to been approved by the board and by the shareholders themselves. So the shareholders would have to approve of this, but I'm thinking either way, it's like whether they get bought or not, they need to be valuable as a company, right? So either way, bringing Iger back is to help the value of the company, right? So could it be to facilitate the sale? Maybe. I think that's secondary to their primary concern. Their primary concern is triage and brand and value. You know what I mean? Like, think about this. The reason they're even talking about stuff when it comes to the parks, and they're like, well, we're going to start taking temperature. We're going to start. They're trying to get ahead of what the new reality of the world might be like. I've been telling people, look, a vaccine or any kind of crazy thing that's really going to make people feel safe is probably at least a year away. At least a year away, right? And so what that means is there will be a time period where the economy is open, but there's still a lot of fear and strangeness, and a lot of social distancing things will still be out there for different companies and businesses. Disney is trying to get ahead of, hey, look, and here's another thing that I think will happen. I think they will announce price drops, dropping the price of how to stay at Disney parks or Disney hotels and Disney parks. I think they will drop the prices. I think they will drop those prices and they will enact new ways to make sure people feel safe. They will cut a lot of jobs. The parks will not be at full capacity. Nothing will be at full capacity, but they will try to get some revenue. They need cash flow. They need to figure out cash flow. I also think that you might see New Mutants. As far as what does this mean for, Marvel fans? It's a Marvel Monday. Let's have a little fun. We don't want to talk all business. This isn't the business show, Josh. So we can talk a little bit about that. The New Mutants might come to streaming, I think. And I say just put it on Disney Plus. Just eat the loss, put it on Disney Plus. But they might put it out for digital. More Disney movies coming in on streaming is really interesting. Really, really interesting. Yeah, Real Man London. My good friend says 117 in the chat, which is one of my favorite numbers because that's the Spartan identification of Master Chief. Can we get some likes, please? Can we get some likes going on? Can we get some likes going on in the Chizat? Let's talk about your boy Namor. We can definitely talk about Namor. Last thing I want to say about this. Yeah, we'll talk about the Grace Randolph scoops. Last thing I'll say about this. This ad yeah, June. Look, we'll talk about that, June. Okay? You're getting ahead of yourself, June. Or you're getting ahead of me. Look, last thing I want to say about this. And this is something. Look. If you ever thought about starting a YouTube channel or becoming an influencer or getting your presence online, you need to start today. In fact, I would never tell you to leave our chat or to leave our thing. You need to leave now. You need to leave now, and you need to start figuring out how you're going to brand yourself, how you're going to have an online presence, and get a slice of the pie that's coming. Because this is something, again, we talked about this last week on the business stream on Patreon. Companies after this are not going to be able to spend money in the draconian ways that they did before. So Iger even says this, old school television ways, that ad buy-up thing. They used to do this thing where they would do a pre-buy on ads, where they would bring in a bunch of advertisers to this big swanky thing, show them pilots and footage for all the coming shows and things that they're going to have on television down the line, and then they would sell billions of dollars of ads before the shows even aired and schedule out their advertisement buying in a year. That shit's going away. A lot of wasted stuff's going away. And digital ad sales of ads that go on videos like this, videos like on the main channel, on Instagram, Facebook videos, all of those, that money's going up after this. It's going up. So you need to start doing that. That's why we're getting the website's launching. That's why we're growing internet nerdy celebrities here. And that's what we're going to do. Still no Venom 2 trailer. Nah, unfortunately not, brother. Unfortunately not. Okay. Chat, put me on the big screen. Let's talk some Namor. So, you guys ever hear of Grace Randolph? You guys know about Grace? You ever heard of her? So she did a couple of scoops on Friday. Actually, several scoops. I found her... I didn't even talk about the Lando one. I could have talked about that Lando one on Star Wars Sunday. I was like, nah, fuck it. I don't really feel it like doing it. But Grace Randolph confirmed that Namor is going to be in Black Panther 2. This is something that a lot of different people have been talking about, including us. A lot of rumors that Namor was going to be in Black Panther 2. Right now, the current rumors are probably going to be teased. Get a little teaser of Atlantis. Get a little tease of that in the Eternals. And then after that, we're going to do Namor as well. I found her video about this to be kind of terrible, to be honest with you. And I like Grace. You guys know I like Grace. I like Grace way more than many of you do. I think she's super intelligent. I think she's got good sources. I question her judgment sometimes. But this video was not good. Because she's talking about how it's basically Aquaman. And Feige's just copying off Aquaman. And she's like just complaining about how she doesn't see how conceptually this could all work. But a couple of interesting things that she said that we will talk about. Number one, the underwater earthquakes or those crazy earthquakes that are mentioned in Endgame will play a role in setting up Atlantis versus Wakanda. So that's pretty interesting. Also, she said that Ryan Coogler wanted Kraven the Hunter to be the main villain of Black Panther 2, which would have been fantastic. And it actually lines up with a lot of rumors we talked about last year. Do you guys remember this? There was a couple of different rumors that they were going to introduce Kraven the Hunter in Black Panther 2 and make him Wakandan. And then, all of the anti-SJW people lost their minds. He's Russian. He can't be Wakandan. And then we just eye rolled at all of them and said, just get off my lawn. Point being, it really does seem like a lot of those rumors and those things that were bubbling up were real. Could have been really cool, man, to see a Wakandan Kraven the Hunter introduced. I think that would have been, frankly, swell. But it looks like instead they're going to go the Namor route, which is really freaking cool, actually. I'm pretty excited about it, but that's it. That's it. That's all we got from Grace, man. That's all we got from Grace. And that's why I was disappointed in that video. I felt like that video did nothing. It told us really nothing. Told us really nothing. But you know what? Let's change it. Let's change it up. Let's change it up. Before we talk about the Namor thing with you guys, which we will do. Pause the music, guys. I got a hot take. It's a hot take. Ooh, yeah. Now, this one might upset a few people. It's not exactly timely. But I gotta just let you know how I'm feeling. I just gotta talk about how I'm feeling about this, okay? Because I think this was crazy. Enough time has passed where I don't think I'll be criticized for just catching the wave or whatever. But look, I've been making my way through Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I'm sorry, but that game is trash. That game is trash, and a lot of people love this game. I was blown away at the amount of people that were so hyped on this game, man. Talking about how it's game of the year. Talking about how it's the best game ever. People saying it's better than KOTOR. You know what I mean? All this hype around Jedi Fallen Order. And I couldn't even really get through it when I was first playing it. And I'm sitting there playing this game. I'm like, what game are these other motherfuckers playing? This game is trash. The game is trash. Graphically, it's cool, but there's glitches all over the place. The game is so glitchy, and even to this day, it's still glitchy. I'm playing it months later. You would think they would patch it, they would update it, they would do all this stuff. It's laughably glitchy. Laughably glitchy. Stormtroopers stuck in walls. Enemies with their tongues that stuck out, and they're just walking around like that. Different parts of the level won't even render. And you could just fall through different parts of the level and just die. On top of that, the game itself is a weird mix between like a platformer and a nice action RPG. Of course, it has the Dark Souls influence on it, which, again, is a whole nother conversation. I like Dark Souls. I've played some games that copy off Dark Souls. Remnant from the Ashes, an incredible game. Very, very fun. But just putting Star Wars skin on Dark Souls is not good enough. They make the platforming such an emphasized part of the core gameplay, and it's ass. The actual platforming and the controls of the character are ass. And it's not just me. You can go look up videos about it. Things that just don't work. The game is made difficult not by the fact that the actual game is difficult, but because of the way the controls are set up. There's this weird delay in everything, and it's meant to make it's super frustrating. The combat is not even that fun. It's super dry. And the weirdest things happen where you can be taken down, a stormtrooper feeling great, taking down this, that, powerful enemies, and then weird-ass spider-looking creatures will come along and just murder you. And I think what happened with this game was the fact that we haven't had a decent Star Wars game in, I don't know, a decade. And this game just didn't suck as bad as the Battlefront games when they first launched, and it didn't seem like as much of a money grab as other games. And I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm the only person that believes this. I know I'm not, though, because I've talked to Al Schuler about this, because Al bought the game as well, and we're both like, fuck this game. This fucking game. It's not even good. And so I just needed to talk about it because I've been playing through the game. I was so frustrated playing this game yesterday. I'm like, how do people like this game? Jedi Fallen Order? Jedi Fallen Order is trash. Trash. It's a trash panda. It really is. And so now that we've got everybody all positive and all that, let's get into the theater. Let's get into the theater, guys. Come on. Trickle in. Trickle on into the theater. We got to talk about this. I want everybody in the theater. We're not even going to talk about that hot take because I'm 100% right, and everybody that disagrees with me is fucking wrong. Star Wars Explained says it's the best Star. I know. I know. I've actually watched Alex stream. I actually super chatted Alex while he was streaming it one day. And he thinks it's the best game ever. Dude, that game is ass. The story's cool. The story's cool and the characters are cool. But it's like, it's literally, one of the things that really frustrates me about the gaming industry is like, how did we get here? How did we get here where our expectations of what makes a great game are so fucking lowered that we're going to say Jedi Fallen Order is an incredible game? No, it's not. Halo 2 was more complete as a game. The controls were better, had a better online interface. Anyway. We can talk about that later. That game is so bad, dude. It's so bad. It's so bad. It amazes me. They got lucky with that one, dude. They got lucky. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We are looking at the first official image released for the Dune movie. So Dune, I'm really interested to see what people are thinking about Dune. I think it has the potential to be, so I don't want to say like the next Star Wars, but a big franchise that we follow over time, right? I think that's the whole idea here. I assume there'll be more than one movie, but I believe this film's supposed to come out this year, and it is done by Denis Villeneuve. I can't pronounce his name. Villeneuve. He's the dude that did Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. I love both of those movies. And they have a particular palette, a very interesting look. But Dune is this really beloved franchise, man. People really love Dune. And we've been waiting to see a modern adaptation of it. You know what I mean? There's the crazy-ass David Lynch version of it. Just being honest with you, I know very little about the actual lore of Dune. But this is sort of the first look. And this is one of the main characters here. But this is like the first look. And at first I was like, well, they're really not giving us too much here. But really, I think you get a vibe of what the film is actually going to look like. And it feels very similar to Dennis's, style, his palette. But it looks great, dude. It looks, to me, very, very fantastic. Just really cool sci-fi. Feels gritty. Sort of cool blues and that desaturated palette. High contrast, though, with that black. Look at how that black pops, man. And apparently, we're going to be getting looks throughout the week on Vanity Fair with regards to Dune. So it says tomorrow, Vanity Fair will provide an even more extensive exploration of Villeneuve's quest to bring Dune to the screen. This is the central hero, Paul Artrides. I'm going to need some help from a Dune fan. I don't know that dude's name, but he's a child of privilege that is raised by a powerful family, but not one strong enough to protect him from the dangers that await. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, the first look at Dune. I don't know. Are you guys pumped for Dune? It's yeah, that's Anakin Skywalker. Dune is trash? Dune is a very, very famous science fiction novel, and there's been a few movie adaptations as well. Sparse. Even what he's wearing is boring. Fanjexer says, I don't think anyone would take away from Dennis's visual style. I just think he overcompensates his scripts sometimes. Maybe. I don't know if he'll be able to do this with Dune, though. Dune is dense. You know what I mean? We're gonna need a big old thing. Big old script. Reservedly excited, Maverick says. Are you a big fan of the novel, Mav? I know you're a novel reader. I know you be a reader of novels and all that. All right, so let's get into Q&A. I know we jumped around a good bit here. I know that some of you disagree with me about Fallen Order, and you're wrong. That's fine. It's okay to be wrong. But yeah, let's get into Q&A. Get into Q&A. Run this for about 15 minutes. We can talk about anything you want. You want to talk about Namor? We can talk about Namor. You want to talk about Bob Iger? We can talk about Bob Iger. Whatever you're feeling, baby. Whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about. I've never read it. Will Apple buy Disney? I think this might be a good possibility now that Iger is back. Yeah, so we had some people talked about this. Some people were thinking that could be the case, that Iger coming back could facilitate that. How many to a trivia team? I think we're going to be able to do teams of 4. I got a ton of emails from people, and I'm going to start trying to organize the people that have emailed us into teams and possibly put them into some teams. But I think we'll be able to do teams of 4. But as far as Owen's question, man, I really don't. I've been back and forth on it. I really don't want Apple to buy Disney. I don't. That's just me. So I don't want that to happen. Craven and Ulysses Claw might have some history. Maybe he helped him break into Wakanda to steal vibranium. I would love it. I would love that, man. That sounds awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be on the table anymore. I'm pretty sure Sony's like, nope. Craven the Hunter, yeah, we know you want him, Feige. Nope. How did I feel about Grace Randolph saying Shang-Chi is copying Mortal Kombat? I felt like it was a bad take. I felt like Jacob's Quest. I'll get to your thing in a second, my friend. I'll get to your thing in a second here. What just happened? Did a super chat pop up? What's up with my chat? Why is Are we like behind on chat or ahead of chat? Where's Trev's super chat? I don't see it on my end. Huh. Trev, thanks for the super chat. I'm having trouble seeing it. Maybe it was up in the chat. I see it. It's so weird. I see it on the screen. I don't see it on the... Huh. It says, imagine the Snyder Villeneuve movie, beautifully shot by both, and Snyder script challenges evens out with Dennis slow pacing, too much exposition. Yeah, dude, that could be awesome. That could certainly be awesome. They're both really great visually. It would be really interesting to see how they work together as well. I know Snyder's probably not the best. I really think, not to totally derail on a Snyder cut conversation, and thanks so much for the support, Trev. I really do appreciate it. Not to derail completely, but I actually kind of get the feeling that the Snyder cut might be a real thing that Zach is working on. But anyway, going back to June's thing, I felt like Grace's takes were kind of bad. It really seemed like anti-MCU, which I don't understand. I know she's a big DC fan, and there's like hints of that, but like this idea that you're copying Mortal Kombat. First of all, that sounds fucking awesome. Second of all, it's like genre filmmaking and, you know, just tropey writing in general. It's all just blending different things, you know? Lavish Black Man says, guess you missed the memo that the Snyder Cut is being released on HBO Max. Yeah, didn't get that memo, man. Didn't get that memo. Was that Mikey Sutton? Only 55 likes? You buttholes. Will I be covering Mortal Kombat content as the new movie comes out? I'm sure we'll cover it. We'll cover it probably either on the website or here. I don't know how many videos we'll do on like the main channel or whatever, but yeah. Jacob's Quest says, I need you to personally apologize to Fallen Order. I'm glad people like that game. There's got to be a reason that I keep playing it. There's cool stuff in it, man. Like there's that big bird on Kashyyyk and like flying on that big bird and stuff. It was really cool. Like there's cool stuff in the game. I think the story is awesome. And I think the game, the game itself is a great start. It's a great start. But like all these people are saying it's like the best game or like game of the year. I'm like, no, it's trash. Like the mechanics itself are trash. I die more because the game is bullshit than I die because I'm not skilled at it. And like, have you guys ever watched Donkey? Have you ever watched Donkey? He does all these videos on video games where he kind of like makes fun of them. Watch Donkey's video on Fallen Order, and it'll explain all the bullshit. All of it. Like, how are you going to make a game that focuses so heavily on platforming, and the platforming mechanics on it are horrible? Assassin's Creed 1 had better platforming. $69? Woo! 69 likes? Leave it there. Leave it there. The Snyder Cut will come out and be very meh, but the Snyder Bros will insist that it's amazing because otherwise they'll be embarrassed. I feel like if they did a Snyder Cut, it would obviously have to be better than Joss Whedon's cut because Justice League is so bad. Justice League is so bad. So I automatically assume that a Snyder Cut would be better than the Justice League cut. I'm also a fan of Zack. I am. I'm a fan of Zack's work. So I think that I would like a Snyder Cut more than maybe other people. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see, right? Like, we'll have to see. Does needing to outfit a game for lots of consoles and platforms increase game functionality issues? Asking for a friend. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that question. Other than to say like I'm sure there's some issues that come out with that, but that's not really what's going on. It's a game engine issue. Like that game is just like that weird delay in it and just like it's so cringy bad in a lot of different instances where like you should be able to run, jump, hit A and get on this thing, but if you approach it at just a little bit of an off angle, the game acts like you're not even there. I had a moment yesterday where I Peter Panned. I used the force power to pull a vine to me and ended up Peter Panning towards the vine and was glitched in this way where I'm gliding around the level. Does a platform exclusive potentially have better performance? I think that's potentially the case, but I don't think that excuses companies from doing what they're doing. Like, I think at the end of the day, the reason it's not as good as it could be is because it probably needed about 6 months to a year longer of development. Like, the platforming could have been tightened up by things done to the environment, fixing up little things in the environment could have made it a lot better. Off to spend your day in the kitchen? Well, good luck to you, man. Hope you don't get burned. While doing his Some Good News videos, Krasinski made a joke saying that some fan art of his podcast as a comic is the only comic book superhero he'll play, but then pointedly looked at the camera. Huh. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure he's going to be Mr. Fantastic. He's going to be Reed Richards. Pretty sure. Did you like the Aquaman movie? I did. I liked Aquaman. I did. You've never had a glitch like that? That's crazy. The platforming is clunky and not as responsive sometimes, but nothing like what you described. I will politely disagree with you, sir. I think it's some of the worst platforming I've ever seen. And the thing is, this is where it really bugs me. If they knew it was clunky, why did they make it such an emphasis of the game? I feel as though what they were trying to do in the combat with the delay is interesting and it works very well, but it doesn't match up. It's like they have these two games and then they put in this system. The system is it's weirdly not working between the two things they're trying to accomplish. So I will politely disagree with you, sir, but I'm not here to take your enjoyment away from it. Uninstall, reinstall? Maybe. Man, there's some whack-ass problems with that game. Like, yeah. Or 4 fantastic seconds. Why'd you retract that message? I like that message. What are your thoughts on them bringing... That's it, Josh. I'm breaking up with you. What are your thoughts on them bringing the Living Tribunal in Strange 2? They talked about him, in Infinity War. I think it'd be cool. Doctor Strange 2 is going to be wild, man. And now they've got a lot of time to get that all sorted out correctly, which is good. Sam Raimi, I think, will do a bang out job on that. Bringing in the Living Tribunal would be nuts and potentially a cool way to set up this crazy thing that's going on with the multiverse. The most recent leaks about WandaVision and talking about how Doctor Strange is going to be sort of not like heavily involved in every episode, but he will be involved and he'll be like kind of watching from the sanctum as the universe or the multiverse is kind of unraveling. Oh, Jason, I already uninstalled Fallout. I already uninstalled 76, bro. Fallout is 76 is on another level. 76 wouldn't even let me make an account yesterday to play. Where I was like, oh, okay. But I'll tell you what I did. Y'all ever played Rocket League? My buddy got me to try a little Rocket League last night. Woo, baby. That is a fun game. How did Easter go? Easter was good. I got a little Easter bag in the mail from the Easter Bunny, so the Easter Bunny got me on that. It was pretty fun. Just chilled out, did the Star Wars video, worked a little bit on some stuff behind the scenes, and then just relaxed. Yeah, I'm over 76. I literally already uninstalled it. Josh just entered 2015. I know. I know, right? And Rocket League's been around for so long and so many people like it. But I just tried it out yesterday. And it's really fun. Like, really, really fun. A little bit of nerd facts. Santa Claus is an Omega level mutant in Marvel Comics. Nice. Have I ever played Spider-Man PS4? Yes, and that game is phenomenal. Dude, that is a game that was really hyped up and deserves every bit of praise. That game was sharp, bro. You talk about a game that, like, dude, just swinging around on the webs, the physics of just swinging around the city is fantastic. That game deserves way more praise. That is a fantastic game. And the story's dope, bros. Oh, my God, the story. Something's going on with my eyes today. I got, like, itchy eyes. I wonder if I didn't wash my hands properly. I got soap on my eyes, and then I touched my eyes, and now I got soap on my freaking eyes or whatever. Any news on the website? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It should be up today. I have a Batman article planned for today. It's going to be really funny. Mav says, with so many entertainment companies having troubles at the same time, will we see or not see behind closed doors deals to partner in different ways, similar to Sony and Marvel? I'm just high. Nah. Definitely not. I'm not a Wake and Baker, man. Can't do it. Need my brain. Need my functionality. Got a lot of shit to do. We got shit to do today. You understand? We got shit to do. And some people can, do all that, but I cannot. Came out the same year of God of War, kind of unfair. Yeah, that God of War game was incredible. Although I haven't played it, but I've heard it's pretty good. As far as Mav's question, I really don't know. That's a tough one, man. That is a really tough one. Will they work together more? It's really hard to say, man. Really hard to say. Yeah, Josh and Batman. Oh, man, that Batman video made some waves. Some people were particularly upset about it. I thought it was pretty fair. But let me tell you this. I'll just spoil the... I haven't seen it yet. I'll spoil the title of the Batman article that's going to go up on the website. The title is, are you ready? DC fans are blind as a bat when it comes to the Batman. They can stay mad. You ever play Overwatch? Yes, I did play some Overwatch. I like Overwatch, but I also uninstalled it yesterday. Not cheesy at all. Yeah. And I'm thinking that Tara will probably do an article that's going to be... Yeah, well, you're free to do that, Lavis. You're free to do that. I think Daily Planet level. Well, that's what we're going to do. So as people come in and submit articles and stuff, and like working with the different people that are going to be doing articles, I'm definitely going to, clickbait the shit out of it. The comments on the Batman video were ridiculous. People are so critical, but no, only as much or less as you do about the movie. Yeah, I know, right? Well, it's just funny because, like, I spent all this time at the beginning of the video saying, like, hey, I hope I'm wrong. Hey, I love Batman. I spent all this time doing that. And then I'm like, but let me tell you why I think I'm really concerned about this film. That's all it was meant to do. You know what I mean? That's all it was meant to do. Is to talk about the concerns that I have. And there were, for as many people that came at me that were pretty butthurt, or like that one dude, Christian Lozongo or whatever. I'll have to look at what the actual name is. This dude was all over the comments. Everybody that was saying, like, oh, I agree with him, he's like, no, fuck that, this guy's an idiot. Or everybody that was disagreeing with me was like, yeah, he's horrible. And there were some really reasonable people in the comments that were saying, like, hey, I think he addressed all your concerns, and look, I'm kind of with him on this. There were a lot of people that were feeling what your boy was saying. A lot of people. Again, I'm not saying like I'm 100% saying that this is a big problem. What really made me want to do that video, and what made me want to kind of continue this conversation in the articles, is that I feel as though I'm maybe one of the only people out there with any kind of platform that's looking at the stuff coming out for the Batman and being like, yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah, I I don't know about this. And it's not even as though I'm saying that like Matt Reeves is this egotistical maniac. He's this crazy egomaniac, and all he wants to do is his friend. No, that's what filmmakers do. He's a filmmaker, right? But that's the big difference between DC and Marvel. Marvel's like, oh, I see you, filmmaker. I see you. But these characters and this world is bigger and more important than your vision. I'd love to work with you. If your vision can align with what we're doing, we can work together. Otherwise, go home, Roger. Bye, Scott Derrickson. Hello, Sam Raimi. You know what I mean? Bye, Edgar Wright. Hello, Peyton Reed. You know, that's the big difference, is that I don't mind directors coming in and having their vision. And I've often said, even though I like The Last Jedi, I feel as though Ryan was more concerned with making sure everyone knew what a Rian Johnson Star Wars movie was like. You'll never fucking forget my name, Rian Johnson. I did The Last Jedi. You'll never forget me. It would have been fine if he had done a film that was outside of the main Skywalker trilogy. It would have been fine. Bats are not blind. I love you, XR Coon. Can we just get a shout out? Can we get some love for XR Coon? XR Coon is like always either first on a video to comment or within the first 3. He's always answering nerd card questions correctly. XR Coon is a real one. Can we get a little love for XR Coon in the chat, man? Maybe some hearts, maybe some thumbs up, maybe some smiley emojis or something like that, you know? A little love for XR Coon today. He deserves it, man. My man is there every day. Every day. Coming in. You know what I mean? As blind as Corona. Yeah. Oh, look at the love. Look at the love. You know what I mean? As Dr. Disrespect would say, firm handshakes. Firm handshakes. Can we get some firm handshakes in the chat? Owen is also there a lot as well. I'm sorry. I love all of the Den of Nerds children equally, but just a little more extra love for XR Coon today. You're going to make people jealous? I know. Captain Pennsylvania coming in says, did I come through during DC hate? Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a day that ends in Y. Am I right? DC lets their creators have their own interpretation to their own determinant because there is little cohesion to what these characters mean to the majority of the fan base. That's an interesting statement. I get what you're saying. Like, I totally get what you're saying. I just think that, like, the thing that frustrates me about the Batman and what I've seen, and again, I've articulated this in the videos, but it really has to do with the fact that that is not needed to make Batman interesting. That you don't need to just reground Batman or make Batman realistic. That line of thinking is just irritating to me because it's not what I think. If someone was more of a Batman fan than a movie fan, I don't think that's something they would agree with. You know what I mean? Like, we all loved Year One and Earth One and some of the takes on Batman when he's first starting out. We've all liked those runs, but we don't want all of the Batman comics to be like that. Batman is interesting because he exists in a world of gods and he can stand toe-to-toe with them. That's all. That's all I'm saying. When do I think the Venom 2 trailer will be released? That's a really tough one, man. That's a really tough one. Maybe this week. Wouldn't that be dope? Wouldn't that be dope? And you know what else, too? This is another thing that's kind of got me twisted when it comes to the Batman. I think that the usual like the anti-woke crowd will get a hold of the Batman, and I'm trying to sort of cut them off at the pass because I think there are reasons to be concerned about the Batman. Wokeness is not one of them, but trust me, that narrative's coming. Trust me. You know what I mean? They race changed Gordon. Selena, I think, is our dark skin, depending on how the interpretation of it. But Selena Kyle potentially race bent. I don't really think so, but they definitely race bent Gordon. There's probably going to be like politicians and sort of underlining things that are in the movie that have to do with classism, social elites. You know, so trust me, the anti-woke crowd, they're coming for the Batman. And it's like, I'm concerned about the Batman, but it's not because of wokeness. And so I want to establish that early in the game. I want to establish very early on in the game, your boy over at the Den of Nerds is concerned about the Batman, and it has nothing to do with wokeness. Oh, I love the actor that's playing Gordon. Jeffrey Wright, he's phenomenal. I'm not even saying it's bad that he's race swapped. I'm just saying that is factually what they did, and that the anti-woke crowd might be going after it. Let's just see how it all works out itself before we get all in a twist about all the negative possibilities. Santa, I love your optimistic outlook. I 100% do. I love it. But I feel like I have a responsibility to point out these things and talk about the potential downfalls and pitfalls of this film. I do. I don't think my job is to be sunshine and rainbows about everything. And I'm willing to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Let's get to Trinity's. I'm going to try to get to Trinity's chat, and we'll call it there. Thanks for being here, guys. Hope this week is good for everybody. Does anybody have, before we get out of here, does anybody have any really cool, nerdy shit they're looking forward to this week? I have something I'm looking forward to, and it's definitely helping me out when like thinking about the week and all that. Anybody got something they're really looking forward to? What's happening this week, man? What's going to get you going? Ooh, the start of the Siege of Mandalore. Woo! Nice choice, boys. Nice choice. Damn straight. I'm excited for that, too. That is awesome. I know people be playing Final Fantasy VII. I'm so glad that shit came out, man. I know a lot of people were looking forward to that, waiting for years for that thing to come out, man. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that it's out. I'm glad people are enjoying it. I'm looking forward to Thursday. The newest set of the Magic the Gathering game comes out. And, man, I'm looking forward to playing with these new cards, dude. So I'll be on Magic the Gathering quite a bit. I'm thinking about doing a stream, maybe on Twitch or something like that. All right, boys. All right, boys and girls. There's the link to our good friend Trinity. There's a link to our good friend Trinity's stream. Let's get on over. Let's show some support to Trinity. Let's get those numbers up, man. Burke the Nerd. Well, you should check out Arena, man. Arena is a nice way to be playing. Arena's nice. Arena's cool. Let's get on over there to help Trinity out, man. We only got 4 likes over there? That's bullshit. Let's get those likes up to like 20 or 30. Okay, folks, that is going to do it for your morning stream over here on the Den of Nerds Live. Oh, I totally forgot to mention we're doing a community stream. I'll post about it. We're doing a community stream tonight, and I have a really cool idea for it as well, okay? As I always say, I hope you guys are having an awesome and a nerdy day. I'll see you hopefully later tonight, 7 Eastern Standard Time, but I'll see you over on Trinity's stream as well, okay? You guys have a good day, and Chet, roll that freaking outro that you never have, that you never do, that you're terrible and you're horrible and you're not doing anything.